You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the Kaduna state government has banned the Almajiranci, a system of Islamic education practiced in northern Nigeria. Parents who enroll their children into this system stand the risk of persecution of up to 2 years in prison. Clerics who also enroll children into schools meant for Almajiri will also be jailed and fined 100,000 to 200,000 naira per child. And now the Commissioner for Human Services and Social Development in Kaduna State, Hafsat Baba, joins me now. Honorable Commissioner, it's nice to have you join me on TVC Breakfast this morning. Now, COVID-19 has exposed a lot of things and has given us new ways of seeing things. But the Almajiranci system is one that has been on for a long period of time. And from the reports we hear, a lot of people will benefit from that. Now, the governor is coming to say that we're putting a ban to this system that has been on for so many decades. Would he be stepping on toes for doing this?
Well, I believe so. He will be stepping on toes, and we shall all be stepping on toes. But it is for the betterment of the child, because in as much as we're looking at the education of that child, the Quranic education, we're also looking at the well-being of the child, which is totally neglected. So that is the issue.
All right, talk to us how this is going to work, because everyone is complaining of funds. Even the federal government is going on a borrowing spree, state governments, local governments. How much of a burden, financial burden, can this be when it comes to maintaining this new ban and then catering for all of the Almajiri that will be coming back to the state?
Well, you see, what we are saying is that we want the children to go back to their parents because they are better off with their parents. They can be taken care of by their parents. You know that all of us, we're being brought up by our parents, our moral upbringing, and going to school. We're not banning the Quranic education, but we're banning the children being used for child labor, and they have to cater for themselves. They have to look for remnants to eat, and there's no good sleeping condition, and people are exploiting them. So we believe that once these children go back to their parents, they will be well taken care of. Secondly, Kaduna State government education is free, from primary school to secondary school. No child is paying a kobo. So we believe that in terms of getting formal education, that has been taken care of. But we believe that also parenting is very key, and it is the responsibility of parents to ensure that they feed their children and they protect their children, and at the same time, take care of their well-being and their upbringing. So I don't think it's going to be a burden, because any parent that brings up a child knows that it comes with responsibility. So we must make sure that we take up to our responsibility as parents, but government will also provide the services necessary for the growth of a child. Education, healthcare, security, and all what it takes. Conducive environment for that child to grow and to thrive. So I believe we are doing well in Kaduna State, and we're putting so much money into education and into healthcare. So this is not something new.
Okay, now so many people outside of Kaduna State and even indigenes have commended the governor for coming up with this ban. But looking at it in realistic terms, a lot of the parents that we're talking about returning these children to are poor, or they fall in the category of those who are referred to as poor. What is the state doing for the parents to be able to cater for these children that will be brought back to them?
Well, I believe there's poverty everywhere. It's not only in northern Nigeria that there's poverty. And we are encouraging people to take care of their children, which is normal. There's nothing new about that. But we are also discouraging parents from allowing their children to be subjected to hardship. We believe that every child has a right to protection. Every child has a right to good education. Every child has a right to survival. So when parents abandon their responsibilities to the malams, we believe that is not good. And Of course, a lot of people, are happy with it. This is a decision that we have wanted to take for a long time. But since the COVID-19 actually pandemic, we experience it everywhere in the world. We believe that this is an opportunity for parents to take care of their children, because you know that even the process of washing hands, putting masks, sanitizing, and so on and so forth, the malam cannot do it. And one thing we have also realized is that this is a business. And you know that once people are benefiting from that business, they will not want it to end. But in Kaduna State, the government of Kaduna State is making provisions for these children. It is our responsibility. We have a law in place, the Child Welfare and Protection Law. We're going to implement it. It's not only the law that will actually prosecute, but there's also a law that will protect these children. So I believe that there are also some interventions in terms of empowerment programs that we have for families, we have for parents. So I believe that this is something that will also help the parents. In Nigeria, and in northern Nigeria particularly, farming, agriculture is one of the key components, that we encourage. And a lot of these parents of these children are farmers. The Kaduna State government is providing fertilizer for these families. There is also intervention both at the federal level and also at the state level. So we believe that we will just sensitize them, encourage them to key into all the programs that we're doing, providing incentives for the families and so on. So I don't think we should capitalize on poverty as a yardstick for allowing these children to suffer. Because these children, they don't have a voice, and we are their voices. So we have to actually stand for these children. I believe that Kaduna State government is doing the right thing and in the right direction. And eventually, I'm sure that since the other 18 northern governors are keen into it, it is something that we have to collectively eliminate in northern Nigeria.
Okay. Now, let's talk about keeping the students in school, because the system they have always been used to, and the only one they know is this Almajiri system. What is the government thinking, or what are they doing, or what will they do to keep the students in school enough for them to learn and become refined?
Well, first and foremost, there's free education in Kaduna State, as I've said it earlier. There's also the feeding program. And these children are entitled to this feeding program once they are in school. Apart from that, I've also spoken about the incentive. The well-being of the children is very key. You see, by the time we went into this exercise, honestly speaking, if I should show you the pictures of these children in such a horrific condition, nobody will support this kind of system. And nobody will, actually, a good government will not support their future leaders, their future children to be in this system. Absolutely not.
All right. Now, we are aware that Nasarawa State, Bauchi State, Kano State had repatriated. I wouldn't love that word, but returned the Almajiri that are indigent to Kaduna State, and the state is open to receiving others from other states in the north as well. On the other hand, if we flip the coin, is Kaduna ready to send back the Almajiri who are indigent to other states as well?
Well, you see, sending them back to their state actually does not mean that we don't accommodate people in Kaduna State. But children, they need parental care, and that is what we are neglecting. Parents need to be responsible. Parents need to take care of their children. I can't imagine sending a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old child from Kano State to Nasarawa State, or from Kaduna State to Borno State, for nobody to take care of that child. And they're so large in number that the Malams cannot even take care of them. And they don't even have accommodation to accommodate these children. It's not a system whereby you find out that you have a school where you have dormitories or hostels, enough toilets, enough everything. No, not at all. These children roam about the street to look for what they are going to eat, and it is unacceptable. We must be able to take care of our children. We must be able to provide for them. And as parents, I keep insisting system. Parenting is very key. We cannot abandon our responsibilities as parents to a malam who will take 50, 60, 100 children that he cannot even cater for. And at the same time, let me also be honest with you. I've said that it is a business. I have got a child and even several children that every Wednesday there's a levy that they returned to the malam. Either 50 naira, 100 naira, 150 or 200 naira, depending on the school. So why should the child be paying for what is supposed to be taught? It is the parents that are supposed to pay for him or for her. So I don't think we're being responsible, actually. So parents are supposed to be responsible for their children. We are not the only tribe in Nigeria. There are other tribes and there are Muslims in every tribe. Why is it that it is only the Hausa community that are sending their children to other places? Apart from that, you will find out that if a family has a goat that they are rearing, they even respect the goat more than the child. Because if the goat get lost, at the end of the day, they will go helter-skelter looking for that goat. But children get missing, children get killed, children lose their lives. I had one child, a 9-year-old child, that was killed recently and was thrown into River Kaduna. So this is unacceptable to Kaduna State government, and I don't think it is acceptable to any responsible society.
All right. How many Almajirai have you collated so far, either from other states or that are in your data bank right now? How many of them are you taking care of right now?
For Kaduna State children, we're taking care of over 1,000. And then for other states, we have already returned back over 35,000.
All right. Now, talk to us. You mentioned earlier that governors are looking that way. The Kaduna State government has taken that first bold step towards ensuring that this works. What is the collaboration between the state and other of his colleagues? I'm referring to the governor of Kaduna State. He and his other colleagues in the north. What conscious effort is being done by other governors so that this is wiped out? Because if Kaduna State alone works it out and the other states don't, in the long run, after this administration, it's still going to be business as usual.
Well, this is being discussed at the Northern Governors Forum. In fact, they even requested for a template that Kaduna State is using from our governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, and he has provided that template for them. And I think as brothers, they will sit down. This is a common problem with Northern Nigeria. So I believe that at their forum, they will be able to look at it holistically and, continue with what we have started, because we have to ensure that we take care of these children. And at the end of the day, I believe that though the decision is hard, but it is something that is beneficial, first and foremost, to Northern Nigeria and also to our children.
All right. Ajia Hafsat Baba, the Commissioner for Human Services and Social Development, Kaduna State. Thank you for talking to us on TVC Breakfast. You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the Kaduna State government has banned the Almajiranci, a system of Islamic education practiced in northern Nigeria. Parents who enroll their children into this system stand the risk of persecution of up to 2 years in prison. Clerics who also enroll children into schools meant for Almajirai will also be jailed and fined 100,000 to 200,000 per child. And the Commissioner for Human Services and Social Development, Kaduna State, joins me now, Ajia Hafsat Baba. Ajia, good morning. It's good to have you join me on TVC Breakfast. Now, talk to us. What is the process of recording and documenting any single Almajiri, the ones brought back into the state from different places and the one who were on the street before but who are no longer on the street? What are run us through the process of taking care of them and documenting them?
Well, actually, what we normally do is once we get these children, we have 2 camps where we keep them. And that is where the documentation takes place. We normally document those children that are not from the state and also those that are from the state. Those that are not from the state, when we finish documenting them, we take them back to their respective states by contacting the other states, either the Ministry of Women Affairs or Ministry of Education, depending on who is in charge, or even the task force. So we take them there with our vehicles and also our social workers. So we hand them over with a letter that they are from Kaduna State to this state. So that is interstate. But for the ones that are from Kaduna State, we also document them and identify their local governments, because we have 23 local governments in Kaduna State. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when we received Almajiris of our own state, we normally quarantine them, put them in the camp, that is the Hajj camp, and also we used Government College Kaduna since they have closed down the schools, and then we do documentation. We do documentation, take their names, their age, where they come from, if their parents are alive, and surprisingly, we also ask if they had any formal education. And majority of them, to the surprise of all of us, most of them are dropouts. Either they have not completed primary school or they have not completed secondary school. So that has also enabled us to know what to do with them.
All right, Ajia.
Getting them back.
Yeah, Ajia, let me ask this question, because we see how these children just roam the streets and sometimes live under trees or live in uncompleted buildings. Do they really have contacts with their parents to know if their parents are alive, where they stay? Do they have all those information?
Well, you know, the thing is that the malams that normally bring them, they also have the older ones amongst them. And those malams that bring them, they have the contacts of either their parents or their relations. So that is what it is. And we had to work with the malams during the evacuation exercise. We also, concerning the data, UNICEF has also been very helpful. They have supported Kaduna State government to actually have a data on all the Almajiris. And we're still working on the field up till now to really collate all the data of all the Almajiris, because without data, we cannot plan well for them.
All right, now talk to us about the state of the Almajirai, the ones returned from Kano who were COVID-19 positive. What are their states now? Have some of them recovered and been, reunited or integrated into the society, or we still have some under isolation?
No. The first batch of the Almajiris from Kano, out of 160 of them, almost 60 tested positive. And the Ministry of Health actually took care of them. They have the isolation center. And don't forget that even the deputy governor of the state is medical personnel. So we have doctors and all the medical personnel around them to take care of them. They were taken to an isolation center, and they spent the number of days. They were tested severally, but those that did not test positive, they were kept in the camp for the required number of days. And that is where we've been taking care of them, feeding them, and also checking their health, because majority of them actually, they have come with one element or the other. Sometimes if you check their bodies, they have been beaten seriously. Some of them, they come with lice and tattered cloth and everything like that. So we had to, simple hygiene, we had to coach them. We had to ensure that they take their bath on a daily basis, get their feeding, get to brush their teeth, and so on and so forth. Just basic hygiene for them to understand, even if they go home. And by the time we go through all those days, that is also when we get in touch with the local government chairman, because there's a process. We work with the commissioner local government. Through the local government, we also get the local government chairman. And that is how we identify also their local governments, and then it is also the responsibility of the local parents. And when we take these children back after spending the required days, then they are being handed over to the local government chairman and also the traditional leaders and the religious leaders of that local government.
Okay.
Because so that they can easily be traceable, and then we can continue also with our data collection.
All right, Ajia, you mentioned UNICEF earlier on. Besides UNICEF, who is helping with technical assistance here and there, documentation, and maybe even medicine or food or whatever it is, what other agencies is the government collaborating with, especially indigenous organizations, so that the system is kept working and those who can monitor these children where the government is not present?
Well, there are also some organizations that have shown interest in working with us, but also there is a particular indigenous organization called AMA Foundation, which recently we had a collaboration with them, and they have indicated interest that they want to support Kaduna State government in the area of the Almajiris, and they are ready to support with resources and all the technical expertise. So we are working with them. We have had a first meeting, and then we're also exchanging some communications. So by the time we conclude, we'll be able to make it public. But there's also AIDS Foundation. We're working with them in the area of data and also training programs. So there are a lot of organizations that have actually shown interest in Kaduna State. They want to work with us, and we're ready to collaborate with anybody that will ensure the welfare, protection, and survival of our children in Kaduna State.
All right. Talking about survival, this is a program that a lot of people have applauded and commended the governor for coming up with. But how do we ensure that this program and this policy survives and outlives the government of the day? Because this has been something that has been on for decades, and now the governor is coming to change it. What policies and what mechanism is the government putting in place to ensure that it becomes a constant and he has come to stay?
Well, we are also working on the short-term, medium-term, and long-term program for these children. And that is why we're also working with different organizations to ensure sustainability. We're building the foundation. And once we build the foundation, we'll also have other people coming to put in the building blocks. So it is not only sitting down to say that we are eliminating this test system, but we have to have all the policies, all the laws, and ensure implementation. It's not only having the laws and the policies, but implementation. And we hope to continue doing that until the expiration of this present administration. But we want this project, we call it I Am the Future Initiative. So this initiative, we are really working on it for sustainability of the program.
All right. Under the President Goodluck Jonathan administration, some schools, some Almajiri schools were instituted. Talk to us about how helpful that is in this space.
Well, actually, when we started this program, I visited two of the Jonathan Goodluck Almajiri school, one in Zaria and one in Hunqui, and that was before COVID-19. And I met some of these children in that place. I'm not happy with the way I saw them, and that also made us to come back and sit down and see what can we do about these children. And apart from the Jonathan School, there's also the former Vice President School, Namadi Sambo. We have identified all of them, but majority of them have closed down. They have not been sustained. So we're looking at what can we do about these structures. There's also this foundation, the AMA Foundation, that we're working with. They have already indicated interest that let us look at all these opportunities. What can we do with these structures? What can we do about these children? At the end of the day, I think we're going to come out with a very robust and a plan for the schools and also for the children. The one in Bindingwari, actually, it's a no-go area because of the security challenge, so that has been closed down. The first school I went to, I met 200 children, and then the second school I went to, I met 260 children.
All right, Hajia Hafsat Baba, the Commissioner for Human Services and Social Development, Kaduna State. Thank you so much for talking to us on TVC Breakfast.